Hey everybody, I think there's a bunch of people here and we are about to get started, and I am going to play a little bit something for you to listen to. So just sit back and relax and enjoy it.
This is a song about hope, and then reality sets in. Hit it. I went to the convention, a print case in my hand. I went to the convention, I want to be a married man. And when I got to the convention, the judges had a different plan. I went to the print room, a big smile on my face. Yeah, I had a big smile when I dropped off my case. The judge said, son, we're gonna wipe a smile from your face. I got to know married, I got to know married blue. Yeah, I got to know married, I got to know married blue. I miss to know married from my head down to my shoes. I went to the judges to kill a little time. A print came around and it looked a lot like mine. It scored a 90 but was challenged to a 79. I got to know married, I got to know married blue. Oh, I got to know married, got to know married blue. Well, I missed to know married from my head down to my shoes. Oh, well, I'd cry, but there ain't no use. Oh, Lord, I'd cry, but what else can I do? Come back next year for some more no married of you. I got to know married, I got to know married blue. Oh Lord, I got to know married, I got to know married blue. I miss to know married from my head down to my shoes. Yeah, I miss to know married from my head, all the way down to my
Alrighty then, that was courtesy of our friend Chuck Hill. Chuck is in the audience there. Thanks so much, Chuck. Take it away, Ted.
Oh, hey, I'm allowed to talk. Hey, guys, what is going on? We got a whopping 47, 48, 46. Oh, they're going up and down. It's all good. Well, thanks for joining us, everyone. Really excited to talk a little bit about print competition and, of course, answer any questions you guys would have. A couple weeks ago, we sat down and said it'd be kind of cool to do something like this. I don't think there is as much opportunities like this to be able to just have open questions about the process. And obviously, print competition, even for people who have been doing it for a long time, I don't think the questions ever end. And especially if you're brand new to it or you're looking to get into it, there's not a ton of resources where you can just kind of have free reign and ask all these different things. So I think what we want to do is start out with just a few little introductions, just really briefly, and then we'll kind of free float a bit. We'll take questions. Christine, let me ask you, does everyone know how to ask questions, or do we need to go through that?
I was just going to say that we needed to explain that. And guys, bear with me because I am not seeing the same screen as you, but somewhere up above, along a bar somewhere, Jason Crocker figured out how to ask a question. Anyway, there's a little green bubble with a question mark on it, maybe. If you click on that, you can write a question out and send it to us. And then when we get to the Q&A parts, we'll do a bunch in a row.
Jason says, yep, top center. So he must have a similar interface that we have, which is sweet. But that's the plan, guys. So ask your questions up on there. I know with technology, of course, I know between me and Christine, there's a tiny bit of a delay, and I know the video goes in and out. It's just kind of how it is. But ask those questions up there. We're going till 8:30, so we're going to take as many questions as we can. And of course, we can go in any which way direction. We have a few things that we'd probably like to go over at some point, but we'll take questions first. We'll kind of see where it goes. Just to give you guys a little bit of info, I'll just mention a little bit about myself, and then Christine can blab on about herself as well. But I'm Ted Linczak, of course. I photograph weddings, primarily weddings in Charleston, South Carolina, as well as Cleveland, Ohio. That's where I grew up. Up in Cleveland, me and my wife Rachel moved down to Charleston a few years ago. So weddings are our expertise. I haven't been competing all that long. The first year I actually competed was back in 2011, I believe, 2011, 2012. So it hasn't been too long. But let me say that competition, I say this all the time when I speak, the #1 way to improve your craft as a photographer. So I know there's a few faces in here that have taken one of my classes, and I'm sure Christina said the same thing, but people always ask, is there one thing I can do to make myself a better photographer? Print comp, #1. It elevates your craft tremendously. And I say that as someone who did not want to do print comp at all, and I got pushed by a mentor of mine at the time that said, you have to do this, you have to jump into it. And I really was partly apathetic, didn't really care about doing it, thought, as long as I have clients, it's all good, doesn't matter. And the second part of that was I was kind of scared to death. And I thought, there's no way I can compete on a big international stage with thousands of entries, there's no point. But I got challenged to do that, and I jumped in, kind of scared a bit at first, but if I look back at the past 5-6 years of my career, and we've been doing this for about 11 years now, the one pivotal point where my work really changed, it was when I started entering print comp. So I'm a huge believer in it, and #1 thing you can do to improve yourself. So, hey, Christine, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I am a portrait photographer from Dover, Ohio, and yes, we are coming from two completely different cities. Ted is live from South Carolina, and I'm live from Ohio. But anyway, I have a portrait studio in Dover, and I specialize in black and white photography, and I have been competing since 2009. The fall of 2009 was my very first comp, and been doing it ever since. And Ted is totally right. My work has drastically changed since I began competing. It is probably the best, it is the best way to improve your craft, hands down. It is a quick learning curve. It's very steep, but if you get through it, you are going to be an amazing photographer if you take it pretty seriously.
Awesome. So what I want to do is, I know there's some questions coming across here. Someone wrote, Christine, that you're a lot louder than me. So maybe, Christine, if there's a way to reduce your level, or maybe just move the mic away a little bit, the wonders of technology. And that's
okay. How does this sound? Are we doing good okay now?
Yeah, give us feedback, guys. If there's, we'll do our best to change some things if we have to. But that's awesome. Let us know about that, because that will help.
Wow, we actually.
Are we good?
What?
Still really loud.
We have a gang of questions already.
Yeah, Christine, I'll let you. Let me see here. Let's do this first question here. I'm going to let you tackle this one because you have way more expertise in the print realm.
Okay. Do you feel it makes a difference entering print versus digital? Hello, Jennifer. Thanks for the question. This is something that a lot of people ask because they think that the judges like prints better and that prints seem to score better and digital doesn't seem to do as well. And I'd like to make a couple points here. Generally, the people that enter prints are the people that have been competing for a while. It's usually your serious competitors that will put the money into prints because it's fairly expensive. So just because the prints are doing better doesn't really mean that the judges like them better. It means that the quality level of the entrance is probably a little bit higher. Digitally, we see a difference. That lets you wait until the very last minute and upload at 1 minute before the deadline, and you probably were retouching until 2 minutes before the deadline. So it allows people to enter at the last minute, perhaps not do as good of a job because they're not sending it off to a printer. You know, some of it's done under the gun. So as far as score-wise, I really don't think it makes a difference. As far as the images go, you know, sometimes an image looks better on a digital presentation than it does on a print. And you're just going to have to kind of print some samples of your work and examine which way they look better. I know last year I had an image in comp, black and white, that was pretty deep. And in the digital image, the background job that I did was just beautiful. But in the print image, it was kind of printed down and you really couldn't see the texture of the background or anything like that. So, you know, I had to judge which way I wanted to submit it. I did submit it with a print in Ohio, I think. But when I sent it on to digital or to district and IPC, I went digital with it because the background appeared better.
Yeah, and I would,
Right.
not to add too much to that, but I would definitely agree with that. I probably in the past 6 years, I think I've maybe entered 3 prints, maybe. And that's not because I don't believe in prints. It's just for me, I do a lot of album entries, and I do some single images as well, but mainly albums. And I can tell you, you know, I've scored all over the place, and I've done really well with albums, and they've been digital entries, and I don't feel like I've been hurt by that, you know, that process of it being digital. So, yeah. So awesome question. Let me go back here. Okay, so Jason Crocker, what's up, man? If you're brand new to comp, what are some good resources to learn what judges are looking for and how to improve your photos for print comp? I'll say off the bat, the thing I recommend to almost everyone now, if you're brand new into it, to try to pick up a copy or a few copies of past PPA loan collection books. So each year, the Professional Photographers of America, they put out a book that contains all the images that have been accepted into the loan collection, pretty much the best of the best from that year, into a really nice hardbound book. Probably the absolute best way if you're new to it, if you want to refine your work, it doesn't really matter at what level you're at. Getting one of those books and just spending time studying it, looking at what people are entering, the quality of that kind of work, it's only a great way to just get an idea for entries for yourself, but just to see the level of image making that's going into the images that are considered the best of the best. I would say for me, that's the number one thing. What do you think, Lucy?
You know, I think the best resource is to actually watch judging. Looking at the pretty pictures just gives you examples of the kind and level of work that's submitted. And, you know, I understand that, you know, it is educational, but I think if you actually watch judging, that's just going to be way more informative. You can listen to the judges' challenges. They talk about the kind of things they're looking at. You get really familiar with the scoring system. So I think that is the best way to learn for me.
Awesome. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I guess you stole my thunder with that. Yeah, in conjunction, I think they're both good methods. Obviously, listening to judging is incredible. I think just sometimes being able to see it, if you can't listen to judging, or if you're just looking to see a larger body of work that is really exceptional, the loan books are great. But yeah, absolutely judging, especially if you have your state organizations like PPO, that's close to home within your state. You can go and you can sit there for a whole day and listen to that. Really, really invaluable for sure. Hope that helps, Jason.
Hey, can I do an aside here? How's the volume, guys? Am I still too loud?
Someone will tell us at some point.
Oh man, really? I've got this mic all the way away from my face. Okay, how is it now? Okay, Jason, your ears just must be really tuned in.
Someone says much better there at some point.
Okay, good. I took the mic totally up here and put it in my hair. All right. We're going to do another question then? There we go.
Yeah, so we got, so is it Rika? I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. I'm so sorry.
Oh,
is there,
let me have this.
Uh-oh. Okay.
Hey,
Go for it.
Rika, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, but if I'm not, I apologize. There is definitely a place for lifestyle images, and I just want to correct, not that you're wrong, but it says that print com images depend heavily on Photoshop skills. And sometimes it can seem like that. And in the Master Artist category, it's definitely like that because you are scored on your art. But in the photographic open competition, if you get your work right in camera, you do not have to Photoshop very much at all beyond the basic retouching. And I actually have kind of made a practice out of the minimal amount of Photoshop required. I take great pride in getting things right in the camera. So I'm not a Photoshop person. I kind of hate Photoshop. So although it may appear that, I would say if you work on your skills and make sure that everything is technically correct, technically excellent, that you don't have a need to Photoshop, that you should do okay with your images.
I think a lot of people come from it too. They tend to think, wow, if I do things like print competition and I follow these quote unquote rules, and rules are kind of this like bad word these days, that means that my work is it's boring and it's not going to be, you know, whatever. And they tend to think, well, if I break out of that and I do something super creative, then, you know, that's amazing and it's something else. Guys, realize that the fundamentals of photography go across all genres of photography. Any kind of different style that you do, it's all good. We're all different. We all approach it a little bit in a different way. But lighting, posing, composition, print quality, impact, these kinds of things that we look for in images that really sing to us, the principles are universal. So if something is lit well, it's lit well regardless of what the subject matter is. I mean, people tend to disconnect those two things, and they tend to think print comp is one kind of image and then this photography is this kind of image. There's difference in styles, but those fundamental skills should be in all images, you know, and that's kind of, I think, where we're at in photography a little bit now, where people tend to think, and this is kind of a controversial statement, but people think, well, art is art and anything I do is great. Absolutely, you can do anything you want to, but I always liken it back to the analogy of like music and photography. What I mean by that is we listen to music all the time. If I rolled in a piano in here and I started banging on the keys, if I asked you guys, hey, is that music? Probably 99% of y'all would say, no, that's not music. Yet in photography, that same thing happens all the time where we metaphorically bang on the keys, we produce work, and we're saying, wow, this is work, this is amazing, it should be the same as anything else. I'm saying that music, just as photography, there is these fundamental core things that we look for. Just like in music, you have theory and you have scales and all these technical things we can use and create different unique things, but it follows those fundamental principles. And I view photography as the same thing. Lighting, posing, all these kind of intricate things, we have to know the rules and we have to follow the fundamentals. But then from those, we can grab different things and create unique things, but it all goes back to a core theory. So kind of a long-winded explanation, but I love that analogy because I think it really speaks. Okay, guys, let's keep going here. Okay, hey, this is for you, Christine. I'll let you take this one.
Okay, do you think it makes a difference? I'm trying to talk softer. Physically matting images versus the stroke and border presentation. Hey, Jen, good question. And that's pretty funny because this is good timing. This year, I have decided to do all physical mats. And honestly, I think it really pumps up the presentation of my images. The stroke and border is really, a lot of people do it. Everybody does it, and it looks very, very nice. I think that you have to pay attention to your image and see, you know, what kind of matting your image looks best in. I'm going to show you guys some stuff later, and you'll see that part of my case was physical mats and part of my case was the stroke and border. And you can see from the images why I chose that. A physical mat with one of them just would have looked kind of bad. So I think, you know, do what's appropriate for the image. Make sure it supports the image and it doesn't take away from it.
Awesome, awesome. One more for you, Christine. I think this one probably is yours. Go, why don't you take that one too?
How important is it to enter in districts? Is it vital to get feedback from judges before IPC? Another good question, Jennifer. You know, honestly, I think that you should compete in every single competition that you're eligible to compete in. The more feedback that you get, the better you're going to be. And just for example, when I first started competing, I had missed my state and districts. I didn't belong anywhere, and I was going to enter IPC, and after I started looking into the rules, I knew I had no idea what I was doing, and to put a case directly into IPC, I felt was like artistic suicide. So I think you should start at your local level and then go to your state level and then go to districts and then go to IPC. If you have some extra money and time, you are allowed to enter other districts that are not yours. Now, you won't get any official results from them, but you will get the score and you can buy critiques to get feedback before your district. So enter as many competitions as you can afford to enter.
Awesome. I'm going to take this one if you don't mind, at least the first half, and then you could chime in. So what are, and this is a great question. I hear this question all the time, and me and you, Christine, have this conversation a lot. So what are your thoughts about creating an image for competition versus picking the best images for my client work? From John. Hey, John, hopefully you're skiing. I'm imagining you watching this and skiing at the same time, okay? Which could be cool. So, okay, listen, me personally, my own feedback, when I started in comp, my goal was basically to just enter client work, and that's basically what I did for about 3 years. I earned my master's degree strictly from client work. That was pretty much wedding albums at the time, which I love that. People, you know, all genres of the competition categories are great. I'm not knocking anyone, but wedding albums, they're so hard. They're so hard. I feel they get judged really tough. And I've seen it, and it's all good. But I wanted to enter that stuff because that is what I do for my work, and I wanted to earn that master's degree based on that, and that's what I did. Now, is there anything wrong with specifically working for competition? Everyone's going to have a different answer, but honestly, I've come to the realization, absolutely not. And my own transition, I mentioned I started entering client work. That was kind of in my mind. A few years ago, it's been maybe about 3 years or so, about halfway through when I've been competing, I started thinking, man, what can I do outside of the box? You know, how can I break the mold? You know, it's been great doing the client work, but can I maybe think of something different that will not only excite me as a photographer, but then I can use it for comp? And you guys that know me, some of you don't obviously, but I started getting into this kind of pattern of each year I will do a non-event album that is like a portrait book, just based on some sort of different concept that's completely removed from weddings. And I can tell you, once I started doing that, not only did I get this kind of renewed sense of love for my photography, because we all get burned out, right? We all get burned out with whatever we do at some point. And for me, this was a new outlet where it's totally separate from weddings. And I might share some here at some point, but I did the Civil War album, I did the Mugshots album. I've done a couple different kind of historical genres of albums, and it's really helped me as a photographer. It's given me a whole new skill set, and most people know me more as a wedding photographer, but honestly, most of the stuff that I'm most proud of in comp has been those non-event albums. So I don't think there's anything wrong with, I mean, if you choose to use all your client work, more power to you, nothing wrong at all. But I have a little bit of a problem with a lot of people that say, well, if you enter stuff specifically for comp and you shoot it for comp, somehow that's a lesser thing, or a lot of people spin it that way, and I just disagree with that. Just because, again, this is a photographic competition, and I honestly feel it's all about showing your best, right? It's all about showing your best. So whether that's with client work, whether that's specifically taking time to do something for comp, regardless, this whole process is about us excelling to the highest peak of our talent, you know? And then if we get to that peak and we're not happy, it's meant to push us past that peak and to get to the next level. So regardless of how you do it, it's all valid. It all helps you grow. What do you think, Christine? Do you agree with that, or?
Well, yeah, I agree with this, but my teaching is just a little bit different, and I'll explain why. I got my master's degree all on client work as well. That was my personal goal, and you don't have to have that as your goal. That was just my goal. But I do recommend to everyone that is trying comp that you do use your client work, because here's the deal. When your client work is used for competition, it's critiqued, and you learn the things that you're doing wrong with your client work. So this process will increase the skill set that you use for clients. Now, if you're entering with pictures of flowers and kittens and sunsets and different things like that, just for the fun of it because you think those things are pretty, that's wonderful, but that isn't necessarily going to increase the skill set that you are making money from. Flowers and sunsets and kittens don't pay your bills. So I would like to see everyone go for your master's degree on client work, and then after that, hey, all bets are off. Do whatever floats your boat and makes you happy. And I have to agree, you know, Ted, I watched you go through sort of a weird thing with the wedding albums. You got to a point where you were kind of going up against a wall with comp. You were kind of getting tired of the wedding album thing. And I watched you blossom when you went into the non-event albums. You got your passion back for shooting for yourself. So I think that was, you know, that's a great side product from, you know, doing creative stuff for comp.
And we all like to do personal projects, but a lot of us, we put them off because, like, there's not the motivation of, you know, like, what am I doing this for? I mean, it should be for yourself, but a lot of us hit that stumbling block. So I say comp is that excuse. It's that excuse to take that idea that's been in your head forever, that you've just never done, and say, you know, I'm going to do it, and the reason I'm going to do it is I'm going to have this incredible entry for competition. It's a great motivator, I feel, to get a lot of those ideas. And I'm telling you, there is probably the most amazing ideas that are in people's heads, but they never get around to doing them, right? So use this as motivation to make it happen.
Okay, and I have a little correction to make. I apologize to all the pet photographers out there. Yes, you may take pictures of kittens if that's what you do for a living.
Uh-oh. Yeah, you almost got in trouble. So, guys, a lot of great questions so far. Please keep them coming. Ask anything. I mean, seriously, you know, you can ask us what our favorite drink is or something. I don't care. We'll answer it. But stick it to comp mostly, because Christine will get nervous if we veer off. Okay. This is kind of a fun one. Let's see. So, speaking of skill sets, do you know of anyone that has merited off of a point and shoot or a cell phone? Do you, Christine?
Yes. I don't know offhand who it was, but I have heard and I've seen prints. I just can't tell you who did them. But yes, that has happened. And I actually designed an album that's going to go in at districts. It has 2 cell phone shots in it.
And I actually shot my entire Civil War album with an iPhone. I'm just kidding.
You did not.
That would have been awesome if I did, though, wouldn't it? That would be incredible.
And I need to clarify that the 2 shots that I'm using are background faded, lowered opacity. They're not main thrusts of any of my spreads in the album. So they're just kind of artistic additions to it.
This is another good one for you, Christine. How does one get started when entering at this level? Where's the info that we could begin to enter the next competition?
Okay. Hey, Mark. Mark's from Ohio. You should get started at your local level. And I know that you're from the northern part of Ohio, so the closest group to you is the Akron Society of Professional Photographers, and I actually am the print chairman for them. So I would recommend that you join this group. We meet monthly, and we have a print comp once a year. And if you can't join a local group, then I recommend you join your state group, which is the Professional Photographers of Ohio, and start with their print comps. And the nice thing about Ohio is we have a fall casual print comp that's all digital to help you weed down your entries for the state print comp in the spring. And then we will go into districts, and then we will go into IPC. And there's also a lot of education on print comp in Ohio. Not to like pat myself on the back or anything, but I teach a lot of classes on competition, and Ohio has a pretty strong contingent of competitors, not just for me, but it was like that when I joined them, and I just want to help keep that going. So there's plenty of opportunities. I can send you a whole list of stuff that you can do on the side, but I would go with your professional organizations as a good start.
And fall comp, man, I cannot say enough good things about fall comp. I don't know about you, Christine. That's where I started. The very first image competition that I ever entered was fall comp in Ohio, and I did pretty horribly. Yeah. But it was a great introduction, because Ohio basically sets up their fall comp. You can correct me, Christine. You can enter as many images as you want. It's a per price. Per image, like $10 or $15 or whatever it is, but you can enter as many as you want. So it's great to get a good feel for your images and how they do, and it's a very non-threatening environment to begin this whole insane process. And I remember the first time that I entered, I kind of vividly remember being there. And I'll tell you what, guys, like when most people start, I just remember this. I entered and I was like, oh yeah, my stuff is incredible and it's going to do so well. And then it was like I entered 10 things and I think one of them merited. Okay, so I had this like ridiculous idea. I remember being at the awards thing and then actually getting into great conversations with a lot of folks. Greg Wertzler was one of them. I remember he was one of the first guys that I looked at. He looked at some of my images and he said, "Hey, you know what? This is great, but this little thing here that you could have maybe corrected that and you could have presented it better." And I had all these like conversations in like a 45-minute period right after that award ceremony. And I'll tell you what, that was the catalyst for everything. So fall is great. You get a lot of people there that are knowledgeable. You can get feedback if you go to the convention. Obviously, you can listen to the judging, but fall is a great place to start if you're an Ohio competitor.
Somebody made a comment over in the chat. I'm kind of watching that out of the side of my eye. And they mentioned printcompetition.com. And that is a website that is it's got some judging tools there. We use their equipment to do our judging, but the results of the competitions are all on that website. And not that I'm trying to sell anything, but they have a membership there. It is $10 a quarter, and that allows you to go in and look at the big archive of images. And I believe there's about 15,000 competition images in the archives right now. About 3,000 or 4,000 have recordings attached to them that you can listen to where the judges discuss the image. And it's $10 a quarter, and I can tell you that's going to be the best $40 a year you are going to spend on competition education. I highly recommend that everybody listening now, when we're done, run over there and get yourself a membership and start looking at the archives. You will learn so much.
Awesome. So next question from Ashley. So when shooting for competition, non-client work, do you use models? And if so, how will you reach out for models, and what type of compensation, if any, do you offer? Well, my face looks totally crazy right now. I'm not sure if everyone's seeing that. That's because my face looks like I'm in Saw 5. Okay.
You are pixelated like crazy.
Okay, I don't know why that happened, but this probably actually looks better than my normal face, so people are probably enjoying it. I don't know why that happened. We'll see if it goes away. So I'll tackle this just for a second, because I've done this a lot. So most of my, I can't stop looking at myself. Most of my non-event album stuff has been me pretty much reaching out and getting models for that. So how do I do that? It's really simple. Almost all the projects I've done, and I think it's been 4 or 5 so far, I actually put casting calls out on my business Facebook page, I think every time. And Debbie says, I'll give that a 79. My face, yeah. I put those casting calls out on my Facebook business page, and I'll obviously share it on my personal page. And I'll basically just put out what I'm looking for. Now, on the question of compensation, well, there's one time I have offered compensation. So when I did my Civil War project, and you guys that have heard me speak have heard me talk about this, I reached out to as many reenactor groups that I could possibly find, and I sent them pretty much messages on Facebook, a few of them, and a few emails saying, hey, this is who I am, this is the kind of project I'm looking to do. And for that situation, I was looking for 15 to 20 guys, and for the Civil War thing, guys that were reenactors and had the outfits and all that. I sent a bunch of emails, and out of maybe 7 or 8 groups that I sent out, only one emailed me. And that guy emailed me immediately, like within 5 minutes of me sending the email, and I called him right away, and we started talking. What I did for them is I said, hey guys, if you let me shoot your whole group, I actually offered to buy them, hey, my face is back to normal. I offered to buy them lunch, so I ordered pizza for the shoot. We shot for 3 or 4 hours, and then I said, hey, I would donate, I think it was like $150 that I donated to their reenactment group, just as kind of a way to say thanks for their time. So I've done that once. A lot of the other projects I've done, though, I've just offered a finished retouch file. So again, if you guys have seen my albums, you kind of know what they're all about. I usually do these character portrait type studies. So I would finish one image of each person, and I would send that to them as a print and as a digital file, like an 8x10. So I think you can go either way. Everyone has a little bit of a different budget. I mean, depending on who you're looking for, you may have to pay. If it's something really specialized with your project and it's hard to find people, maybe so. Like the reenactor groups, not everyone's a Civil War reenactor. It's kind of hard to find those folks. But if it's something more generalized, I think offering a print or retouch file, things like that are totally okay. But use social media. I mean, everyone is on there, so Facebook is your best friend. It really is for that situation. What do you think, Christine? Any insight on that? Or?
Yeah, I'm going to add a couple things. Model Mayhem in your area may be good. There is an Ohio resource that I highly recommend. It is called the Northeast Ohio Performing Arts List, NEOPAL. Look it up and get yourself on that list, and you can put in an advertisement. It's actors. It's all actors. So if you put in an advertisement that you are looking for someone to photograph, you will probably get some takers, and actors can always use updated headshots. So my plan would be, would you sit for me for an hour, and I will give you a bonus 30-minute headshot session, and provide them with some digital files and some guide prints. They don't need a whole lot, but actors will love headshots that are updated, and they'll be willing to barter their time with you. And that's a real good resource to find some extra people.
Francine says, repeat that site again.
Okay, it's called Northeast Ohio Performing Arts List. I do not know the website, but the abbreviation is NEOPAL. Now, when you sign up for the digest, you know, just be aware that there's going to be all kinds of people advertising for actors to audition for plays, commercials. Somebody may be looking for props. I know Ted did a shoot one time, and I hooked him up with that place because we were looking for some specific costumes that we thought some theaters might have. So there's a lot of things on there that aren't necessarily looking for models. So you're going to have to kind of wade through some of the stuff. Oh, somebody looked it up.
Uh-oh.
It's N-E-O. It's NEOhiopal.org. Thank you so much, Kath.
Christine, probably you'll tackle this one too, huh? When you decide to have an image printed for competition, do you submit it to a lab as a special print process?
Jen, add in lists, L-I-S-T-S .NEOHIOPAL.org. Okay, when you decide to have an image printed for competition, do you submit it to a lab as a special print process? Absolutely, and I know a lot of people don't know about this, but when you submit your print to a lab, you need to find out if they actually do competition prints, and most labs do. But there is a specific way to order it. Now, I use Miller's, and when I'm on the checkout page, I can check off a box that says print at competition density. And you need to make sure that you order a print with competition density. And all that means is the lab prints it about 15% darker than normal. And the reason that they do that is because during print judging, we have 2 spotlights that wash over the image so that the judges can see it really well. And what it does is it blows it out sometimes, and it'll look like it's underprinted if you don't have it printed darker. Now, don't get all freaked out, because just because it's 15% darker doesn't mean it's so dark you can't put it in your studio. Just make sure there's a light by it and you'll be fine.
Cool, cool, cool. Okay, here's a good one. From Kevin, our boy Kevin. What's up, man? I'm not too far, man. Okay, what are the biggest mistakes you see? I'm assuming like in print competition is what I'd guess. Correct me if I'm wrong, Kevin. What do you think, Christine? Biggest mistakes?
In the judging that I've done, I'll have to say the biggest mistake is people overusing things like Topaz, Lucius, the special effects software. It leaves a lot of artifacting. So if you're going to use things like that, put it on a separate layer and reduce the opacity and selectively mask it on and off areas. Sometimes we just see things that are, if you hear a judge call something crispy or crunchy, that's what they mean. We're seeing a lot of artifacting, and it's just been over sharpened.
Yeah, and I think in general, you know, when you have a great image, I mean, if that scores high or whatever, just an exceptional image in image making, you know, whatever, you know, great image, it means that a lot of little things have been done right. So people tend to think, wow, there's one thing that happened in that image that made it amazing. Rarely. It's a combination of a lot of things that have been done well. The lighting, the posing, composition, those fundamental things. All those things have been done very well. So it's not always one thing, you know, it's all these things culminate to form an amazing image. I think Christine's right on, over-retouching, over-processing, that whole thing. And I'll also say people tend to enter images that are lacking impact. And when you ask about why didn't that image do as well, yes, it could be the technical merits, absolutely. I'm not discounting that, but you have a lot of images that, for lack of a better word, are kind of boring. So and we all struggle with that. You know, that's why I love albums particularly, because I found that's an awesome niche for me to be able to really expand an idea and get across a point over multiple. I mean, albums are very hard to do, but they give you that advantage that a single image, in my opinion, doesn't have. So you need impact. Don't forget, every year, you know, how many entries were in the IPC last year? Like 6,000 or 5,500, something like that. About the same the year before. Yeah. I mean, tens of thousands of images over the course of 3 or 4 years are being viewed, you know, by judges. So you have to really think, and there's always going to be some overlap, but man, when you can find that idea or that image or that take on an idea that no one has done or no one has done well, that's what you're looking for. That, you know, it has to start with that. So you need that impact. You look at any image that's done really well, I would say a large majority of them are going to be things that are unique. They're a unique spin on something, and that impact is there, and that means a lot. Cool, cool. let me look here. A lot of awesome questions coming in. Okay, Christine. Is there a district that may be more generous with their scoring than others? From our buddy Jeff.
No. The judging pool is all pulled from the list of PPA-affiliated jurors, and those are rotated in and out. No one, here's how they arrange it. Every year, all the judges pretty much get to judge one district, and then there's so many judges that they have to take turns with IPC, but they pretty much get to judge IPC every other year. And I would not say that a certain body of judging is more generous than someone else. Now, I'm sure that this is coming from the fact that we're in the middle of districts right now, and some people come away from some districts going, wow, the judging at this one was really harsh. You know, that's just the way it is. Different panel, different day, but I don't think they mean to be harsher, but it may appear that they are.
Yeah, I don't think there's any other.
Yeah.
I don't. My short answer is no. And we've all been on opposite ends of the. I mean, Christine, you probably have a story. I tell this to people all the time. You know, I had an entry, and it still bothers me. I had an entry a few years ago that, you know, I'll tell you guys, I'm part of SEPA, so I'm part of Southeast because I live in South Carolina now. But I shoot at the time, almost 50% of what I was shooting was in Ohio. So I entered the Ohio State comp, which in that year was tied to Northeast District. So I ended up entering them both. Obviously, it wasn't my district. One of my images, which I really loved, I had entered it at Fall and a few other places that had been scoring really well. It scored something like a 90 or a 91, okay, at Northeast. Now, it wasn't my district, but I was like, yeah, this image is awesome. Okay, SEPA was, I think, 2 or 3 weeks later. So I'm all pumped. I got this great case. So I enter it. Case does well, but that image doesn't merit. I think it gets a 78 or a 79. It scored a 91 a couple weeks ago. Okay, so then I'm like, it's okay. I'm just going to re-enter it at IPC, which is what I did, and then it didn't merit again. You know, so I just say that for you guys to realize that kind of stuff happens. I mean, I don't know what the answer to that is. I mean, Kristen, you're giving me a mad face slightly, but I'm just saying a lot of people tend to like tie like, oh my God, I get the score, so that means that's exactly what that is. Well, it's viewed by another panel and another set of eyes, and people tend to see different things. So 95% of it obviously is going to be your technique, it's going to be the image, it's going to be the impact. But I think you guys have to realize that you get a little bit different personalities that are looking at images each time, and that's going to reflect in the judging, absolutely. Now, I'm not to say that that's a vast majority of what the judging will revolve around, but you just get people that have a different take on certain images, and it's going to vary a little bit. Do you agree with that, Christine, or are you going to yell at me for saying that?
No, I'm not going to yell at you. And if I had a mad face, I'm sorry. I wasn't being mad about anything. You know, wow, what was that noise? Is that coming from your end?
Noise?
Okay.
I don't hear any noise right now, but hopefully there isn't any noise.
Oh, okay. It sounded like a car driving by. Okay, where was I? Oh, okay. So sometimes, you know, you'll have a panel that has a couple really good traditional portrait artists on it. So when portraits come through, you know, they have a better understanding of all the elements that go into a portrait. You know, some panels may have, you know, okay, one time Michael Barton was on a panel, and Michael Barton is like the king of florals. And so a floral of mine came through, and, you know, he liked it or whatever. He knew what it took into making a floral, so he had a little bit more input than other people, and he was able to, you know, talk to them about, you know, what the advantages or what the good points of this image were. And maybe they all didn't understand it, but now, you know, they kind of are deferring to his judgment because he has more experience in that area. So, you know, the panels are not always equally full of the same kind of experienced people. You know, you have some landscape people, you've got master artist people, you got wedding people. So there's all kinds of strengths, and that's why everything's a little bit varied.
Okay, from Cindy, do judges get paid?
They do. If you are, okay, now this has been a couple years, so I don't know what the current pay is, but the last time that I checked, the per diem for judges, I think, was $200 a day. Now, that may sound like a lot, but I'm here to tell you, after 3 years of judging, and now I'm not affiliated, so when you're not affiliated and you're trying to get all this experience under your belt so you can apply to be affiliated, you take what you can get. And I've done a lot of judging for free. And sometimes they'll pay a hotel room, sometimes they won't. And I'll have to say, I've spent a couple $1,000s in the last 3 years just trying to judge. So even the $200 a day really doesn't cover all the expenses. You're lucky if you break even, but then you have to consider the time that you took away from your studio. So really, judging is a labor of love. These guys are not doing it for the money.
Let's just say that none of them are buying the kind of Ferrari that we're giving away in about 44 minutes. That's all I'm going to say.
Can you repeat that? You cut out on me.
Oh man, I delivered the line and now it's not going to be funny. I said let's just say that none of the judges are going to be able to afford the kind of Ferrari that we're giving away in about 44 minutes.
Oh yeah, we're not giving away a Ferrari. Yeah, I heard it that time.
When I have to repeat a joke, I mean talk about killing the room. Okay.
Sorry.
Oh my goodness. Okay, looking through. Okay. Our buddy Jeremy says, what does the airspeed velocity of an unladen swallow, a swallow, do for image impact? It was 2 coconuts. Okay, seriously, I've talked to you about impact before. How do you increase impact, especially on portrait work? Well, I'll let you tackle it first, Christine.
I can relate to this because I did mainly portraits for a bunch of years. And it's difficult when you're dealing with an image of a person from the chest up. It's difficult. You have to have a story that you're telling, and sometimes it's really hard to have that story told with just a head and shoulders shot. You know, eyes to me are a big thing in portraits, but just make sure that your posing is absolutely spot on. Make sure your technical stuff is absolutely spot on, and try to get some emotion going or some story. Really, really connect with your subject. That will make it more impactful. But if you can put a storytelling element in there, that's very, very helpful. But that doesn't mean to start throwing a bunch of props at somebody or make them wear a costume or something that they didn't bring. You're faking a story at that point, and I would not encourage you to do that.
Yeah, so on the flip side of that, I'll say that it's not. I don't mind faking a story. I'll go the opposite way, Christine. I don't think there's anything to. This is a great webinar. We can just go back and forth and just disagree with each other the whole time. How awesome would that be?
That's like every day, Ted.
That's true. Faking is kind of this word. I hate to say that because essentially, I mean, so many things are faked. I mean, we may not use that word, but we're kind of creating our own little storyline sometimes. I'll say, think of the story beforehand. Like, you know, a lot of us tend to think, oh, we schedule the shoot and someone comes in and then we're thinking of what to do, or then we're coming up with the title for the image and we're trying to figure out what to do. Think of the story beforehand. Before you contact anyone, what are you trying to create? I mean, and that could be anything. And that goes back to having good inspiration, too. I say this all the time. If you want to have these images that have impact or entries that are different and unique, you have to constantly be filling your brain with inspiration. So that comes in a lot of different forms for everybody. You know, for me, a lot of it's movies and cinema. It could be TV. I mean, it could be reading. It's whatever it is for you, but constantly have some sort of sources of inspiration that you go to, that you constantly have these things churning around in your brain. You know, and then when comp season comes, it's more or less kind of wrangling it all in and saying, okay, what I remember seeing this and seeing that, and that piqued my interest. What am I going to focus on? And then you kind of start building the idea from there. And then we reach out, we find our subjects, and we begin to mold that. But I think a lot of people work at it backwards. You know, they bring someone in and they're ready to shoot, and they're like, oh, what do I do? Have the concept before, you know, flesh it out. Work that way rather than doing it backwards. At least that's my take on it.
You know, let me clarify a little bit more. I made the comment about faking things. I guess what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, walk it back. Walk it back. I get it.
No, I don't think I was clear about it. One time I shot somebody. I have a model that comes in all the time. If you guys have seen my work, it's the crazy guy, the guy with the what do you call that? The thing where his arms are
straight jacket.
Straight jacket. That's a client of mine that comes in like twice a year for pictures, and we always do something really creative. And one time he came in and he had a beret and a cigarette in a holder and a ugly plaid jacket. And it just wound up being a goofy, stupid picture of a guy wearing a beret. There was no connect there. It was a disconnect, and it looked like a guy that I just threw some clothes at and said, here, put this on. There was no story supporting it. I was trying to fake some kind of situation, and it just was a dud. It fell apart. I did put it in comp, and that's exactly what the judges said. They said, this looks like just some guy that you handed a costume to. So, just be really careful that the story that you're creating is believable. Make sure it's not contrived. That's our favorite word this comp season is contrived.
Contrived. Contrived. Yes. Hate that word. Everything is contrived in the world. It's like any print competition entry is contrived. We can use that word. That's not a bad word.
Would you like me to take this one?
Oh, yeah, well, why don't you? Yeah, I thought I was going to take it first, but let's hear your take on it.
We can both take it.
Right? I'll say the question, right, because I have an announcer voice. Not really. Okay, what kinds of topics are acceptable for non-wedding album competition entries, I guess you would say? Go for it.
Okay, so let's just not even, what kind of topics are acceptable for non-wedding album? Honestly, let's just talk about all entries. There are no rules. No subject matter is off limits. It is totally up to the entrant what they are going to enter. Now, there's a caveat there. If you want to submit nudes or some other adult-oriented material. I mean, I would never submit porn or something like that. I think you would offend the judges really badly, but still, that really doesn't affect your score or shouldn't affect your score. Your images may not be displayed in the print exhibit if they're not suitable for younger eyes. So just be aware, you will never be disqualified, you will never be scored down because you're approaching controversial topics, but if the subject matter is not appropriate for a general viewing audience, they may be held back from the exhibit.
Yeah. The reason I love the non-event album category is honestly, it gives you free reign to create a story around any kind of concept that you want. I mean, that's really what it is. So people tend to ask, does it have to be portraits? Is it a story? What exactly is it? I view it as essentially anything that's not a wedding. I mean, it gives you free reign to explore a lot of different options, and that's why I've gravitated towards that category. And I think I kind of mentioned this before, but I feel this really strongly. Okay, I feel single images are great. I mean, people do really well with them, but I think they limit you in the way that you kind of have one shot at the impact. You have one shot at getting that point across. And if you can do that, you can do extremely well with it. But a lot of times, there are images that, like, if they just had a few more images to go along with it, it could be an amazing concept, but they weren't given that chance. So with non-event albums, now suddenly we can explore a wide range of concepts, and you have as little as 5, as many as 36 slides or spreads or whatever you want to call them to explore that idea. So I feel you have the opportunity to really hit that impact out of the park if you pick a really great subject matter. So I don't think, like Christine said, I don't think there's anything that's off limits. And what I might do, if you allow me, Christine, just because we're talking about wedding comp albums, I may show you guys just one or two of my albums and go through them kind of quickly. I have some slideshows, but I probably won't show that. I'll just scroll through a few, and you guys can see a few of them and just get an idea of the things that I've been doing, and that could kind of pique your interest with that a little bit. And then we'll keep going. Christine, do I have permission?
I want to add. Yeah, go ahead. You go ahead and start your album. I'm going to add one more thing for Chris. The official description of the non-event album category says that it's for portrait or storytelling albums. And you see all kinds of things. And I saw a question go through. Yes, you can certainly enter a high school senior album. Anything. Just enter anything. It's good. I have one that's just all art.
Okay, guys, I'm hoping you can see this, because this is kind of new to us, but I'm assuming this is on the screen now. And it's a PDF, so the color might be a bit garbled. And as a photographer, I have to say that. It's the default thing to say. It really doesn't look like that. Yes, we see it. Okay, thanks, Debbie. Appreciate that. So this was an album I did a few years ago, and it was really, I did one non-event album before this that really kind of, you're like a human bookmark. So I did one comp album before this that kind of set my kind of sights on the non-event album category, but this was the one that I really look back as like the first one that I really had this concept and I fleshed it out and all that. So And kind of what was the thought process on this one? So you talk about subjects, what's acceptable, what's not. I'll tell you what, the first concept I have for this Civil War album was actually a concept to do portraits of slaves, like from the 1860s, 1850s. Like, I had always seen those in books and online. I'm a big history buff. I love the Civil War, and it just seemed like that's such an interesting thing, you know? And you see these portraits, there's not a whole lot of them, but that was the original concept. I wanted to do an album like that. I thought it was unique. I thought it was different. I didn't think anyone had done it before. And I love history. It's just what I'm interested in. So that was the original idea. I actually had set up a shoot to shoot these portraits, and I did a shoot, and I got some great images. After I did that shoot, I started thinking, you know what, this would be even better if it was more of a period piece. And we looked at the actual kind of the Civil War period, and not only did we look at the plight of the slaves, but we looked at the actual war. So we looked at soldiers from both sides and kind of captured the essence of what that period was all about. And to be honest, I didn't really know how it was going to shape out, but I already told you guys how I approached it. I found a bunch of reenactment groups. I found one close to me. I set up a shoot. You know, I donate to the organization. I did that shoot. I got a lot of great stuff from that. And then after that, I'm like, these are great, but maybe I'll do one more thing. And I actually seen that there was a reenactment coming to Charleston. The Battle of Secessionville was happening within a few weeks of when I had done this last session. So I thought, hey, I'm going to go to this. I'm going to bring a camera, one lens, and anyone that looks cool, I'm going to photograph them. I thought I'd maybe be there for a couple hours. I got there at 9. I think I left at like 4:30, right when the reenactment was over. I stayed there all day and got a lot of great portraits. The reason I say this, guys, number one, a lot of great projects require time. Okay, you have to actually actively make them happen. They're not just going to come to you. You got to put the work in. You got to make the calls. You got to set aside the time. It takes that work. But also the kind of the evolution of the project. You know, it started as one thing and it morphed into something else. That's how a lot of my projects kind of end up. So this was an album I'm really proud of, guys. One of my favorite albums to date. And I'll just kind of scroll through it. And if anyone has any, like in the comments, if you want to ask me a specific thing, I just want you guys to see it so you can see what that looks like. So a lot of times people ask with albums, does it actually have to look like it's on a table, or can I just show pages, or can I just show slides? Let me encourage you guys, you can do any which way you want to. Okay, think of each slide and each image is just a blank canvas. It doesn't have to look like an album. It doesn't have to look like an actual book. It's just a blank slide, and you can have as many of them as you want in an album. Okay, so don't think it has to be one way or another.
And yes, so this was the Geo winner for last year.
It was, yeah.
Somebody asked that question. I saw it go through.
It did that, yes. Yeah. It won the Geo last year, which was probably an awesome moment in my career, which is really awesome. So I wanted this, though, book. My idea was I wanted you to go in an attic, and basically you were scrummaging through a bunch of boxes, and then underneath all this crap, you found this album and you pulled it out. That was the idea that I wanted to capture with that. And I thought actually placing it on a table and having it look like you're flipping the pages would be really cool. I ended up naming it 1863, okay, because I was thinking Civil War. And I was thinking, okay, smack dab in the Civil War, right in the center of it. You're still not sure how it's going to turn out. You know, there are a lot of uncertainties, so that's what I ended up naming it, was 1863. Now, most of the reenactment guys, if you guys can, the soldiers that I photographed, if you can imagine, in South Carolina, the easier soldiers to find were more on the Confederate side. So I thought, how can I start this book? I wanted something a bit different and unique to start it. So I figured the actual Confederate, the battle flag of the Confederacy is how I wanted to start this album. And as we go through, you'll see a lot of the images are really simplistic. So people tend to ask, or they think like competition means everything I shoot is a 8-light setup and it's all that I have to buy $18,000 worth of equipment. Everything you guys see in this album, I think 95% of it was natural available light. There's a few reflectors that were used in a handful of shots, I think only 1 or 2. But the rest of it was outdoor natural light. I mean, shot primarily with a 135 2.0 and a 70-200. That's it. So you don't have to be fancy, guys. The reason I say that is this album did exceptionally well, and it didn't involve me spending $20,000 on equipment. But each image in each album spread, I wanted to just keep really simple. So you feature one image on each side. And some of them have the same guy on each side, some of them have different guys, but I wanted to keep it clean and consistent, which is really important. And I went with that sepia age look, because every single photo you see from this time period essentially has that kind of look. You know, you don't see color photos unless they've obviously been colorized, but you'll see a mixture. You'll see some of the slave portraits, you'll see some soldiers of images of Confederate soldiers. There's a mix, and it was the culmination of a handful of sheets. The cool thing again with this was I was able to play with this. Like, it was just a concept that came from nothing. Like, I started from 0 and then I ended up with this. That's such a cool feeling. You know, even with weddings, I kind of say you don't start with 0 because the bride's there and the groom's there and the event is there and everything is done for you in a way. You're just now creating from that. But this came from 0, absolutely nothing. It all came from 0 to what it is. So I love that feeling of being able to do that from scratch here. So a mixture of tight portraits, some wider portraits, but they're really simple. I just wanted to capture the essence of each guy in one shot. And a lot of these are more of that stoic kind of feel, you know? So again, I get my inspiration from a lot of those images from that time period. You see these kinds of really stoic type simple shots. They're not over exaggerated or anything like that. It's just about capturing the essence of each of these people and the plight that they're enduring. But I can't stress enough, guys, how cool it is to do these album projects. And ever since I did this one, and then the one before this was called Mugshots, which some of you have seen, but it's just now every year I try to kind of outdo myself and do something a little bit different. And I've really been following a theme of kind of historical periods in not only American history, but really world history, just because I love history. So it's important, you know, how do you get impact? Someone's asked that already. One way that helps is you pull from things that you're already energized and jazzed about, right? So if I love history, if I'm excited about that, don't you think naturally that's going to drive me a little bit more than trying to pick something that I'm not interested in at all? Naturally, you find these things that are, you know, exciting to you, and I feel artistically you develop a bit more when you find those things. I think the one image in this whole album on this left side was done with the reflector. I think that was really the only image. So really clean, simple. It's not long, but this is what a lot of my albums the past few years have been molded around, these historical type albums. Cool. Someone says their next album should be all redheads. I'm okay with that. I'm cool with doing that. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Hey, I'm going to pull down a couple questions that came through while you were showing your album.
Go for it.
Okay. Here's one from Danica. Oh, is it coming up? Oh, maybe oh,
yep, it's up. It's up right now.
Okay.
It's up now.
Okay, I noticed no albums were in the MA competition. You're right. There is no album category in MA. The last year that they had that was 2013, and they only had one album entered. So they decided that category just did not pull the kind of entries that they needed it to, so they got rid of that category. Now, I assume that the PO rules, no work by any other artist, applies for albums. Actually, no. There is one way that you can do this, and it's called a dual maker album. And for example, Ted's albums, his wedding albums that he entered the first couple years, he entered with his wife, Rachel, because they shoot weddings together. And the rule for that is that each photographer must contribute at least 20 images to the album. The other rule is that both photographers must be in the same district if you are entering at the district level. So 2 people can certainly go in together and work on an album project together. And actually last year I saw one that was done in Texas by a few ladies that decided to join forces and work on something together. But you have to have an equal amount of work in there. You can't just have one person put in 1 or 2 pictures and then get a merit out of the album when you're doing the bulk of the work.
Cool. How about this one, Christine? I'm not sure if you had another one. I'll let you tackle this one here.
Oh, you know what? I think we were both pushing that button. Birth photography, we do see it. We do see it, not a lot. If this is your passion and you do it well and you've got some technical skill going with it, hey, enter it. You know, I like seeing those. There's some really great emotional impact images that can come from a birth photography session. Okay, you go ahead.
Guys, let me jump back.
Take it over.
Let me jump back for just a tiny little second here. I mentioned impact and how important it is. Okay, I don't jump back on that. Impact is incredibly important, but guys, please realize a lot of people mistake. If I have something completely unique and is crazy impactful and no one's ever seen it, that doesn't mean that the other aspects of the image are not there. Like if it can be the most unique thing in the world, but if your lighting is bad, if your presentation is bad, if your editing is bad, it will not score well. So that kind of is like, it should be obvious, but don't discount that. Don't think that impact can make up for all the other elements. The impact, yes, I think it's the most important thing. If you look at the way the 12 elements are listed, that is number 1, but that does not discount everything underneath that. So don't forget that, guys. Impact, yes. Everything has to be there. Everything else has to be there for sure. Okay. Someone, let's see. Colleen says she's having a little bit of audio issue. Is everything good, guys? Is that just an isolated thing, or are we still good? Haven't heard anyone else.
I was having some issues I was having issues when you were showing your album, and I'm thinking that PDF album was just taking a lot of bandwidth, maybe.
Yeah, that's probably what it is. I know. I figured that would happen, but we'll roll with it. Hold on. I had a question that was queued up for you. Okay. I'm going to play this one, Christine. I'm going to let you answer it because I think you can maybe help. So can you explain the new competition rules regarding the use of photographic backgrounds, such as wallpaper, bricks, metal lockers, as well as if this extends to wood floors, such as those from Denny's, and the use of textures overlays? Saw this one today, the use of smoke, water, fabric brushes. You probably would know a little bit more about the rules here on this one.
Okay, I actually saw the thread that you are referring to that included that smoke, water, and fabric brushes, and I just can't comment on that because I think, okay, let me back up here. This new rule, or the new interpretation of this rule, is causing a lot of angst. So here's the deal. If you are in the photographic open competition, don't use anything that anybody else shot. If you have a background that's photographic in nature that you want to drop in, make sure that you took the picture. If you have a photographic physical background, make sure that you took the picture and had that background made. Do not use the locker room things, stuff like that. I did also see a question about floors and pictures of floors and etc. You know what? Just play it safe. Don't use anything that's photographic. I don't know about those brushes either. And if you want a serious final answer, I'm going to give you this advice, and it came to me from another comp class that I sat in not too long ago. Rich Newell is the head of IPC, or he's the IPC manager. His email address is rnewell, Newell, at ppa.com. I suggest that if you have any questions about any of your entries, you include that entry in an email, you explain to Rich where all the pieces came from, and you ask him if it complies with the rules. And then you'll have your final answer. And keep that email in case there's an issue later. There's a lot of people out there on social media saying that they know the answer and they've looked into this and they asked so-and-so. And I'm here to tell you, they do not speak for PPA, and you will be in very dangerous ground if you are taking somebody else's word for something. If you want an answer, ask PPA.
Awesome. So, Debbie, what's up? I played this question from Debbie knowing that neither of us would know the answer because I don't. But maybe Christine just got a lot of knowledge. And I know Debbie, and we talk all the time. Debbie does some photo restoration work in comp. So she wants to know, how do the 12 elements play into photo restoration? Do you want to try to tackle that, Christine? What do you think?
Sure. Photo restorations go in the artist competition. And in the artist competition, those are judged on the 12 elements, plus how well you used the tools that you used for the art. So if you were doing a whole lot of fixing of the cracks and rips in a picture, they'll want to make sure that you did that very, very excellently. If you are painting it, they'll want to make sure that your painting skills are up to snuff. So it is the 12 elements. And then it's that additional, how well are you utilizing the skills that you're using?
I did a thumbs up to
and
someone.
Yes.
If you're asking questions, guys, use those that are new to the webinar. Use the question tab at the top because that's what we're going to. We're not looking at the chat or anything like that. So, Christine, we've been talking about the 12 elements a few times, and some people are probably wondering what we're talking about, or they're dismissing it because it's like whatever. Do you have a slide with the 12 elements that we're talking about when it comes to print comp that you can bring up?
I do. Hang on a minute. I think I do. Let me see. I put you on the spot.
Sorry.
I know, that's okay.
You would have one.
I think that was one that I was wanting to upload and maybe didn't get to it. Comp slideshow. Okay, I think this is it. Okay, I'm going to pull up a slideshow here, and hopefully this is it.
And if not, we can probably just find a link or send them in the right direction to find that.
Oh, okay, yeah, this is not the right slideshow. All right, I'm going to try and do this from memory. The 12 elements: impact, composition, storytelling, color harmony, technical excellence, technique. Those are most of them. Lighting. Lighting. There's just 12 things that we judge art on. All art is judged this way. So we just take a look at those 12 elements and see how well they satisfy each one. If you go on ppa.com and look up 12 elements in the search bar, they have all kinds of articles that fully explain what each of the elements are to give you a little bit better idea of what that is. And I'm going to shut.
Okay, guys. Sorry, I just
off. Sorry.
Hold up. Okay, guys. So I actually pulled it up here because I had it here. I got like 5 computers in front of me. You hit most of them. Let me just go through them. I won't explain all of them. You guys can Google this. If you literally go into Google and type in 12 elements PPA, the first link that comes up, you will see them. But you mentioned most of them, Christine. Let me just mention all of them. So number 1 is impact. Okay, number 2 is technical excellence. Number 3 is creativity. Number 4 is style. Number 5 is composition. Number 6 is presentation. Number 7 is color balance. Number 8 is center of interest. 9 is lighting. 10 is subject matter. 11 is technique. And 12 is storytelling. So we keep referring to the 12 elements, and just like Christine said, when we're making our competition entries and we're looking at our images, we go through that checklist, and as we look at our entry, are we fulfilling each one of those elements? Are they being met, and are they being met well? Okay, so Google that, guys, 12 elements PPA into Google. You'll see a full list, and they actually explain each one with like a paragraph, so it gives you some more insight into it. Let me go back into questions here. Okay, guys, if anything happens with the audio and stuff, if there's a major issue, please let us know. Occasionally there's some weird things that blip up here, but it's a bit odd. Okay, I'll probably give this one to you too, Christine. Let me put it up here on the screen. 1 second. A little bit of a lag there, hang tight. I thought I played it, hold on. Hold on. Hold on, guys. Hang tight. Just had one, and okay, here we go. Let me try this one more time. That should play now. Why won't it play? Okay. Hold on, guys. Let me go back. So I'm hitting play on the question, and it's being a little bit goofy. But let me read the question, and then you can answer it. Okay, even though I can't bring it up right now for some reason. So the question is: I see a difference between outdoor entries and studio entries. Will this change in the future? So that might be just, Cindy, maybe you can clarify. Is that just kind of, are you saying you're seeing a difference like in how they're judged or the scores? Is that what you're getting at? If you're in here still, Cindy, you can put that in a message and I'll see it pop up.
You know, there's no difference in the judging. I think if you feel that outdoor portraits are getting a bum rush a little bit, it's because a lot of people that do outdoor portraits do not know how to use light. They do not know how to use the sun. They do not know how to use reflectors or off-camera flash. Basically, you have to show that you have control of the lighting. You can make the light bend to your will. And that skill is a lot harder for outdoor photographers to master. A lot of people just rely on ambient light, and that is not lighting.
Awesome.
Make sense?
Let me go through. Yes, we're still having some issues with getting these questions to play. I'm not sure what's up. Hey, Christine, do this for me. Can you try to bring up a question on your panel there and see if it'll display? If that's just my issue, or if there's just a connection issue. I keep.
Okay. I have one.
There you go. Okay, I think you.
Maybe
oh, you're so good. My computer's special. Okay.
Can you explain what a sealed case is? A sealed entry. Okay, we're going to try and simplify this. When you compete at your district and you score an 80 or above, that means that that image is pre-qualified to be a merit. But you must send it on to IPC and convert it to a merit. So what they do is they say they've sealed the entry. You cannot change it. They also put a little sticker on the back if it's a print that shows it's sealed. And if it's a digital entry, they will lock it into place in your account. You just forward that image on to IPC, and it will automatically convert to a merit. And if it scored high enough at districts, if it got an 85 or above, it will proceed to the loan judging at that point. If someone is talking about a sealed case, they probably mean that all 4 of their images scored an 80 or above and were each individually sealed.
And kind of another rule question. I'll let you tackle this one too. It's a pretty simple one, I guess. Some of the rules.
Okay, I heard that some of the rules are changing. Yeah. Okay. What we're doing now is at the district level, when you're scored, if you get an 85 or above, that image is eligible at IPC to be considered for a loan. If you get an 80 to an 84, that's as far as that image is going to go. You go ahead and send it to IPC, and you'll get converted to a merit. But if it didn't score an 85 or above at districts, it will not be considered for loan. Now, if you got an 80 to an 84 at districts, you are certainly allowed to break that seal and start over and get scored at IPC and hope that it gets an 85 or above and then proceeds to the loan judging. We have introduced scoring at the IPC level as well. So things are changing a little bit, and I hope that answered the question.
So Kevin's got another question. And guys, we still have some time. If there are any questions, those of you that joined us, please use the question tab at the top. Answer to your heart's content, and we will. We only have a few more in the queue there, so we can definitely answer some more if you have them. So please bring those in. So Kevin asks, how important are titles? Who do I ask for my titles? I don't know. I've never asked you, Christine, obviously, for title help ever.
Yeah, I'm not good at titles. I would say that titles are important. It's why we have you title them. I know WPPI has a lot of entries that just say untitled, but titles help with impact. They help with storytelling. They help give the judges a little bit of clue as to what you got going on in your image. On the other side of this, you can also use titles to your advantage because the titles, oh wow, now I got the crazy face. Anyway,
it went away. It went away.
The title is announced before the print or image is shown. And sometimes the judges will get a specific thing in mind, and then when the image turns around, they're surprised. That was not what they were expecting. And if it's a delightful surprise and makes them chuckle, then that's a little bit more impact for you.
And you know what? When I came into it, I hate titles just because it's hard to come up with them. But when I first came into the process, I really disliked them because I kind of thought that they were pointless. That's what I thought initially. So even though now, though, it's tough to come up with stuff, you're absolutely right. It can aid your entry a whole lot because it just helps you hammer home that point, whatever that is. You know, there are a lot of images that, depending on the title, can evoke a certain kind of emotion, depending on what you choose. So as annoying as it is sometimes to come up with something that's good, don't dismiss that. Okay, don't just try to wing it at the end, which of course I have never done ever in my life. You want to come up with meaning that I've done it all the time. Meaning you want to come up with something really good. So my albums tend to be a little bit easier to come up with. So I usually have an idea floating in my head. A handful of times I have done image entries, single image entries. It tends to take me a while to do it, but don't discount it. Yeah, and Kevin says, it's your one chance to speak to the judges. Absolutely, absolutely. So many images can go. You can have an image go from an 80 to up into the next category. I'm a firm believer sometimes with your title. Not all the time, but it could add that impact. It can add that emotion. Absolutely. So don't discount it. Okay, thanks, Kevin, man. Thanks for the question. Appreciate that. Here's a good one here from Julina. So Julina asked, for a beginner, what would you say are the first 3 steps into entering a competition? What do you think, Christian? You teach this stuff all the time. So what do you think? 3 steps.
Wow. Hey, Julina. How you doing, girl? The first 3 steps. I think you need to have a good understanding of the 12 elements. Because if you don't know what the judges are looking for, you don't know what to enter. You can evaluate your own work and select the proper images to put into competition. I think another thing that's really important is to get really familiar with different presentation methods. Presentation is one of the 12 elements, but in newbie entries, we see a lot of full bleed images, and you're just not going to get the maximum scores possible if you don't finish your image. Now, that's not to say that, you know, they won't merit. And there are some images with so much impact that are full bleed that they do quite well. But I would say lack of presentation is one of the things that a lot of people skip. You know, another one is know the rules. I've seen some things disqualified because folks are not reading the rules. For example, I'm going to pull a slide up here really quickly. I'm actually going to shut down the Q&A, I think. Hopefully that'll work. Let's see here. Okay, so one of the rules is, let's stop this. Okay, there it is. This is an image that I have this in competition this year. It just went through Ohio, but this is called Alabaster Aster, and this is an image that I matted physically. But when I upload my entry to PPA, you have to upload a digital guide image so they know what it looks like. You must include the mat. So I digitally had to create this mat. Had I just uploaded this picture of just the flower and then the image came around with a mat on it, it would have been disqualified. And that's just sort of a really ridiculous tiny thing to overlook, because this is a pretty good image, and without a mat it would be DQ'd and I'd have to give up the good I got. So know the rules and don't make silly little mistakes that can really cause you a lot of points or merits.
And Jelena, for you especially, being in Ohio, and we already talked about fall comp, but knowing that you are in Ohio, I would encourage you to join PPO. You may already be a member, I'm not sure. Join PPO. And fall comp it's a little bit of a ways off, but not really. It'll be here in 2 seconds. Join that, do that fall comp, you know? I mean, if you're fresh into it, I mean, you could, districts is right around the corner. I would say that's probably not going to happen at this point. You can enter IPC, the international comp, you can enter right into that, but as a first-time competitor, I'd wait till fall and get a series of images and focus on that, where you can enter a plethora of images and you can get some great feedback. Being an Ohio competitor, that's where I'd say would be your number one step, at least for me. That'd be my advice. And I mentioned this before. I know you, Jelena, so I know you've seen some of the images already. You have a little bit of an idea. I would definitely get a loan book and beginning to just kind of look through that and get some ideas from that, and enter fall. Because in Ohio, man, what a great system we have in Ohio that they offer that. It started my whole thing at comp. It starts a lot of people things. It's an easy way to enter that whole process without being super intimidated by the whole thing. Christine, you still have a slide up. Go for it.
Yeah, I brought this up because I saw a little comment in the chat that reminded me that there's another new rule that you all have to pay attention to. If you enter the artist category, it is now required that you have a guide image. That did not used to be required in the past. It used to be optional. But the guide image in this particular entry is down at the bottom, and that's the before image. So you just show what you started with, and that way the judges know what kind of work you did to it, what changes you made, and then they can evaluate the work that was done. And now this is also another example. A lot of people are not familiar with what the Master Artist category is about, or the Artist category, I'm sorry. And this is a category that evaluates your art, your Photoshop skills, basically, or Corel painter skills, whatever it is that you use. You do not have to click the shutter. You can use somebody else's images, but you have to do all the art. And there's a couple different things that you can do. A lot of people just think it's paintings, and that's just not necessarily so. This particular image is a painting, but let's see, there's more pages. Oh, there we go. I didn't mean to end this. Oh my goodness. Let me bring it back up.
Oh, Christine, you broke the whole thing. You broke the whole thing.
I know. So sorry. Let's bring it up again. I was looking for my pages. There it is. Okay, so we have paintings, and I'm trying to go to the next. How do you do this? Well, there it is. Okay, I had suggested, or I had mentioned this earlier. This was one of my entries that just didn't look right with a physical mat. It looked better with a very simple stroke and border. But this is another example of, I took an image. I bought this little flower down here in the corner from Shutterstock, and then I manipulated it. So this is another thing that you can do, like a compositing, artistic kind of thing. This is, it's based on an image. It's based on an x-ray, but I did all the rest of it from scratch. I showed what I started with, but all the rest of what I started with was just my skill set in Photoshop. And then, here you go, Debbie. Restorations. That's another kind of thing that's put in the Master Artist category. And again, you can see that I showed my before image. And this is actually a photo of my grandfather when he was 5 years old. So I got a big kick out of retouching this for competition. And also, I wanted to point out to you guys, these images, most of them had a really fancy mat and border on them. And we actually have a set of those. They were designed by Kimberly Smith, and we're going to give them away as one of the door prizes here at the end. So that's
and Christine,
really nice.
Christine, let me ask you really quick. We're getting close to the end, but maybe we can go 10 minutes longer and facilitate a few more questions, or if everyone's cool with that. What do you think, Christine? Yay or nay?
I was thinking about that, and I know there's a lot of people that probably expected this to end at 8:30. So my suggestion is, let's do the door prizes, and then we can hang on, and if anybody wants to stay after, we can certainly go a little bit longer.
Cool.
Would that be working for you?
That would absolutely be working for me. Now, before we do the door prizes, do you want to talk at all about cool thing that we've been working on, cool thing / different thing, or do you want to save that for the end?
Don't give it away. Are you still there? Yeah. Don't.
I'm here.
That is okay. Hi. How you doing, Ted? I have a slideshow for the prizes, and our special little project is the last slide.
Oh, cool. Sweet. Okay, cool. Let's do the door prizes.
I'm just so excited.
I mean, you're in charge of this because you figured all this out. So I'm blissfully ignorant. Go for it.
Okay, so I am going.
And thanks to all the people that are still in here. Sorry to interrupt you, but we can still have 64 people in here. Thank you guys for hanging out. Much appreciated.
Okay, so let me pull up the slideshow for that. Okay, so that would be, I'm peering at the screen here. I'm looking, door prize slideshow. Here we go.
Here it goes.
Alrighty. Okay, so I am going to get a random generator going so we can select our winner. And let's see, how many people do we have online? We have 64 people here, not counting you and I, Ted. So I'm going to
you have to be here to win,
a
too.
Number. Yeah, you have to be here to win. So I'm going to put in 1 to 64. I'm going to generate a number, number 53. So I'm going to go on the list, and I'm going to go 64, 63, 62, 61, 60. Oh, crap-ola. Hang on a minute. 4, 3, 2, 1.
Christine, if you win this prize, this is rigged.
Okay, so this is a prize. I've kind of screwed up. I think I got the right one here. It is a copy of No Merit Blues by Chuck Hill, and that was the song that played at the beginning of the show here, and that goes to Rachel Edgington. Is that right? Oh, yeah, she can't talk to me. Anyway, Rachel, touch base with
Rachel,
me
say in the messages that you're here or something like that. Yeah. Because they have to be here, right? Is that true or not?
I based it on... Yeah, they have to be here, and she's here.
Let's see. I'm going to comment in the chat. Yeah, I'll do it.
Yeah.
I got it.
Will you take care of that? Okay. All right, so let's go on to the next one. I'm trying to... the page controls are awkward here. Okay, here we go.
They kind of disappear a little bit. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. Prize number 2 is a competition print from our friend David Eggert at NEO Pro Imaging, and that is a lab in Ohio. And David's just been awesome to the professional photographers of Ohio. He's really helped us print a lot of stuff for our conventions, and he was just so nice to donate a competition print to us for tonight. The maximum size is 20 by 24, which is the maximum size you can enter in comp. So whatever you feel like entering, it will work for this image. So let's go here. Oh, how many people do we have now? 65. All right, so I got to change that number a little bit. Okay, I'm going to go through the list and find my number. Hang on, just give me a second. I got to go to the top of the list. Okay, so it's number 24. Ooh, I'm touching the wrong button. 5, 6, 7, 8.
Next to the Ferrari, this is probably the best prize. Everyone is in suspense.
Okay, that goes to Danica Barreau, number 24. Yay! Can you type that in, dude? Oh, Ted has disappeared on us, so I'm just going to keep going. Hey, Danica, why don't you write in there that you won? That way people know. Okay, so, here is these awesome, awesome borders. And I know I keep harping on these things, but I used these for 5 of my entries at Ohio. Yes, Kim Smith's mats are awesome. Anyway, I used 5 of them in my cases this year because I entered 2 cases at Ohio. And I really think that these really brought my images up to snuff. So I'm going to go back over here. We're back down to 64 people. And we're going to generate a number here. Oh, it was number 25. So that means whoever is after Danica wins this one. And that is Deborah Turner. Oh, Debbie, you just said you wanted them too. Hey, how cool is that? All right, so Debbie Turner won those. Okay, so we have something a little bit special here. The next prize is a 1-hour competition mentoring session with me. If you want to show me your entries, we can go over it. Anyway, we'll schedule 1 hour to work together, and we can do whatever you want to do. If you're not entering, we can just do a regular portfolio review. Okay, so let me see here. We got it. We are up to 65 people again. So let me stick that in my little random generator. Okay, number 52, clear at the bottom of the list, which means the 14th person up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Did I say 13? I said 14. Pam Remler. We will be working together, doll. All right? I'm texting with Ted. He actually got cut off. He needs to log back in, so I'm letting him know that. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. Our very next prize is a 1-hour competition mentoring session with Ted. So we are up to 66 people. And here we go. Oh my goodness, my random person, it's number 55, which is one right under that. Paul Anthony, you have won 1 hour with Ted. Awesome. Okay, I would really like for Ted to be here for this next thing because we have a huge announcement. And just bear with me for a second, and I'm going to see what's going on with him.
Hey, I think I'm back, maybe.
Sorry about that.
Am I back?
Oh, there you are.
That was a disaster. I'm not sure what happened.
I'm not seeing your webcam, Ted, but I'm glad you're here.
Hang tight.
Oh, there you are. Yay!
Time Warner. Okay.
Are you ready, Ted? I'm gonna push the slide. Okay, you guys. I am exhausted, but I am so excited. We have been working so hard for the last like 2 weeks to put together this brand new project. I'm just so excited. I don't even know what else to say about it. So Ted, give me the lead in. You start describing it, and I'm gonna push the slide button. All right?
Okay. Hey, who won? Because I totally missed it. Who won our mentoring session? Who won my mentoring session? Just out of curiosity.
I'll tell you later.
Okay, got it.
Paul Anthony won yours.
Okay, yeah, Paul, what's up? Okay, so Make Photography Great Again, guys. My totally original title that I came up with. So here's the exciting thing. So me and Christine have been talking about the industry in phone calls and conversations like many of us do on a lot of topics that never reach kind of the forefront of the industry. Like in circles, we talk about these various things that we wish that we can maybe change within the photographic industry. So we decided a couple weeks ago, hey, why don't we start a podcast where we talk about all the stuff that everybody talks about, but no one really says in an open venue, and that's kind of where this idea originated from. The Make Photography Great Again podcast. The whole point of that is to discuss some things that we think would maybe help the industry be better, and have some fun along the way, interview some people, and just make it a fun thing for us. We have these conversations all the time, and we thought it'd be cool to put it in a public venue like that. So starting tonight, if you guys go to MakePhotographyGreatAgainPodcast.com, I promise you that if you visit that site, you will not be hacked by the Russians, and there will be no wiretapping at all involved. But if you go to MakePhotographyGreatAgainPodcast.com, the longest URL in the history of URLs, you will find the latest episode on there, and you could listen to it on any device that you have. Eventually, we are in the process of listing it on iTunes and various other places, but go to that URL. Also, if you are on Facebook, you can search for Make Photography Great Again podcast, and we will link all the previous episodes will be on that Facebook page. But the most current episode, which we released just now, is up there. And for the next 5 days, we're actually going to release an episode a day. And then starting next week, it'll be every Tuesday, there'll be a new episode posted. So they'll range anywhere from 25 to 45, 50 minutes long. They'll kind of vary in length, but they won't be incredibly long. We are brand new to this whole podcast realm, so hopefully you guys will be generous and gracious with probably our few flubs here and there of how we do things. But it's a totally new medium for us. But we just really want to have some fun with it and give you guys something to listen to. So obviously that's completely free. And you can, again, find that at MakePhotographyGreatAgainPodcast.com, MakePhotographyGreatAgainPodcast.com. Also search for that on Facebook and all your typical social media. We're everywhere. So definitely check that out. But yeah, we're really excited about it. Anything to add, Christine? Did I miss anything with that?
No, just make a note that I put spaces in that, but there are no spaces in the real URL. I just wanted to make it easy to read for everyone. We are on Twitter, we are on Instagram, and we also have a YouTube channel. So we would just love for you guys to go over to the website, listen to the first episode. We're a little bit nervous. We just uploaded it today, but you guys get a sneak peek. We are not releasing this to the public until tomorrow, sometime by noon, I would say. So if y'all hop over there, you get a first listen at what we're up to. And honestly, we're having so much fun with this. And I hope it's educational. As educators, we just think there's a lot of things that need talked about. And so we're talking about them.
Cool, yeah. So definitely check it out, guys. If you find it beneficial, feel free to share. We're going to release it tomorrow, but if any of you guys want to share that URL, feel free to do it. We're going to do our own release tomorrow, but if you find it exciting and entertaining, and if you want to send us hate mail, you can do that as well through the contact form on the site. Hopefully there won't be too much of that, but I actually have a filter that Christine doesn't know about for derogatory cuss words and things like that. It filters right to Christine's personal email, so she can read those first, and I don't have to see them. So that's already set up. And of course, you could tell us if you like it as well, which would be cool. So what do you think, Christine? You want to do a quick lightning round, do a few of the final questions really quick, go a few more minutes, and then wrap up? Does that sound good?
Yeah, I don't want to leave anybody out of the questions. People went to the effort to type them in. So let's try and answer as many of them as we can.
Let's do it. Okay. We already kind of tackled this. Let me put it up really quick. So Scott asked, any difference between entering online and prints? I know, Scott, you weren't here at the beginning. The short answer is not really. We love prints. I think we're big believers in prints. But you've seen images and albums, and I've had albums that have done extremely well that have all been digital. So it goes across both spaces. They both score well. I think if you can do prints, I think it's a good thing, but I don't think there's a huge difference there. Okay. Sorry, here. Hold on. Okay. Actually, this is a good question from Scott. We're going kind of quick, but so what about misleading titles? Say indicating someone was very sick, dying when they are not. Is it okay if it helps you score higher? Or that's kind of an interesting question, man. That's maybe not a short answer. What do you think, Christine?
Okay, well, I know Scott, and I know that he has been privy to some of the conversation that we have about this. We do see this, and there are times when we think that the emotional pull that you can have by a misleading title, and let's just go, I'll just give an example. A lot of times we will see an image of someone called Survivor, and they really didn't survive anything. They just happen to be bald, and it kind of gives a kind of false story, you know, but here's the deal. It's a comp image, and you want it to have impact. And if you tell a story that's a little bit more impactful than the real story behind the image, I guess, you know, more power to you. It doesn't sit with everybody well, but, you know, the judges don't know that. The judges don't care. They will judge what's in front of them, and that includes the title. So although we may look, you know, sideways at it and go, yeah, that was kind of maybe a little bit of a cheap shot there, but, you know, people are using their talents to their advantage, and some people have a talent for creating titles.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I mean, I tend to fall in that same category. Print comp, in a way, is kind of like a game. I mean, a little bit. It's like a game. I mean, you're entering things in order to get a high score. I mean, and everyone interprets that a little bit differently. I mean, as long as you're not doing anything illegal, I'm really like, you do whatever you feel is going to give you impact. That doesn't mean I may agree with them. I mean, we can have personal disagreements on what we feel is ethical, but I think it's kind of a personal question. I mean, how do you feel about that? Does that hurt you? Does it bother you? Then don't do it. If someone does choose to do that, they're following the rules and they're staying within that. There's not a whole lot we can do, you know? I mean, you may disagree with it, but that's, you know, newsflash. There's people out there that don't believe in everything that you do. That's just kind of how life is. So, you know, the quicker you realize it, I think the better it becomes.
The maker is the only person that's going to know, you know, and if the maker just wants to manipulate emotions a little bit, then that's up to the maker, and that goes under impact and storytelling. So, you know.
So Mary Ellen asked, does each element have the same point value? Maybe.
Okay, I'm going to eradicate a little false concept. A lot of people think that you start at 100 and you get points deducted depending on, you know, what's wrong with your image. That's just not the way it is. There are different categories. There's deserving of a merit, there's superior, there's excellent, and what the judges do is they decide what category that they think that image belongs in. And perhaps it's a deserving of a merit category, and that is the score from 80 to 84. If they think it's a really, really solid merit, they'll put it up towards the 84. If they think it kind of just squeaked into the merit category, it'll be down in an 80 or 81. So we don't assign points to elements. It's kind of a long, convoluted explanation, and we don't have time for that here. But if you go on PPA website and you look up scoring or competition scoring, the chart will come up and they will explain some of the categories there.
Christine, you may have said this while I was gone there for that brief moment. I know some questions have revolved around where can I get more info, where can I grow a bit in this process or learn more about it or just become a better photographer. Did you talk about the various different groups that you're doing and some of them that I'm doing? You may have done that. I missed it.
Oh gosh, I did not. But hey, you guys, we sent you to that website with the podcast on it, and we each have our own page that has some links to some groups that we do. And Ted has one called From Craft to Commodity, and he has a
From Commodity to Craft. You messed it up.
Oh gosh, I'm sorry. And I'm even there. From Commodity to Craft. And then I actually have a Image Competition 101 group that's linked on my page, and you're welcome to go there. And if you're in Ohio, I have a special private mentoring group just for Ohio residents that compete. And I give that mentoring absolutely free, which includes critiques, etc. Just my way of giving back to Ohio.
Yeah, guys, if you go, you can find it on the Make Photography Great Again podcast.com. But if you just go to Facebook and you search From Craft to Commodity, it is a closed group that I have. I just started about a month and a half ago. And I post about 3 to 5 times weekly. If you like seeing like behind the scenes videos from shoots and weddings, and I'll post things about composition, lighting, different examples, and I get the conversation going there about 4 to 5 times a week. So as long as you're a pro photographer, you could absolutely join. I said it is a closed group, so I just will verify that you're a pro through your Facebook page. But Commodity to Craft, search it out on Facebook, and you can become a part of that discussion. Cool. Okay, let me go back.
Rika asked about me extending that to people on this podcast. And Rika, I'm really sorry, but there are 66 people here, and I just absolutely cannot add that many people to that group. I am the print competition chair for Ohio, and I consider this part of my job and part of the benefit for the people that belong to the Ohio groups. So please avail yourself of the public group that's called Competition 101. Or no, what is that called? Image Competition 101 is the name of the page. And you can join that page, and I'll be giving some information there.
Kevin, I just saw you just asked that. My group is From Commodity to Craft. From Commodity to Craft, if you search.
And again, there is a link to all these groups on the podcast website.
Cool. Okay, guys. Let's keep going. We kind of answered this already here, but are there any safe Facebook group pages that you feel gives good feedback and images for comp? I think both of ours that we mentioned would definitely allocate that for you. What else, Christine? Is there any other group you can mention that would be good in general that you know of? Or?
Yeah, actually, there's about 4 or 5 print competition groups. Unfortunately, they all are closed, and some of them are secret, and it's hard to find them in the searches. So here's what I'm going to do. If you email me, send me a message on that contact forum on our website, the podcast website, and tell me you're interested in the Facebook groups, I will friend request you on Facebook, and then I will add you to all the print competition groups that exist. How's that?
Awesome, 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 awesome. Okay, I like this question. So is it better to, we've been talking about impact and all that, so is it better to lead with impact or play it a little safer and go for a merit? Let me just give my take on it. I think sometimes it depends at what stage you're at. So I know when I was going for my degrees from PPL, like my Master of Photography degree, there were a few times where, I put something through and like I had the opportunity to maybe change it. Like I could have maybe broken a seal, and I actually had a few conversations with a few people, a few judges at the time that were giving me some help. I won't mention them here, but that kind of mentored me a little bit. And I remember them saying, man, this one thing, it's sealed, but you know what, if you change this and you break the seal, it probably can definitely go loan. And at the time, to be honest, I didn't want to do that because I wanted my degrees and I didn't want to delay it at all. So I was a little bit safer with that, maybe in taking risks. Like you talk about people breaking seals and changing different things, and that might be confusing terminology. I know it's hard to go into all that, but I tend to play it safe for my degree. But now, and I think Christine's probably in the same boat, a lot of times when you get your degree now, it's kind of like I just play around with whatever I want to do. I'm looking to get the most impact that I possibly can get. So if that means that I'm rolling the dice on some stuff and taking some risks, I'm okay with that because I've gotten my degrees, and it's more or less now to challenge myself. How I can really top myself from last year. Anything to add with that, Christine? Or
I'm gonna kind of disagree just a little bit. I know Jason, and honestly, Jason, you're gonna have no trouble meriting, dude. You just need to enter. Impact is wonderful, but if you do not have the technical skills to support it, it's only going to take you so far. And one of the things that I learned in judging school is if you want to challenge a print to go up, you will talk about the emotional, the impact, the creativity, the storytelling, those kind of things. But if you want to talk a print down, if you want the score to come down, you will note all of the technical issues that were not met. I think the goal for every entry is to get a merit. Not if you're just going to submit an entry that has a whole lot of impact, what's your end result going to be except 6 people will say, wow, this has a lot of impact. It's not going to do you any good if it's not merit worthy. So if you can get a good balance, make sure that your technical stuff is there and then put all the impact in that you want to, but go for the merit first.
I know we've been talking about titles. Let me just throw this one up there because that's something I didn't mention. How do you come up with good titles? I'll tell you guys one of my keys. You know, TV shows, there's a million TV shows out there. Pretty much every single TV series, each episode is named. I know this sounds kind of goofy, but a lot of times I will look at some of my favorite shows and look at the titles of the shows. Not only can that sometimes help me with something I've created sometimes, but a lot of times I'll just look through those when I'm bored, and it sometimes sparks like an idea for an image. So one of my favorite shows ever is Twilight Zone. You know, the old Twilight Zone episodes. If you guys look at the titles for those, they're very cool. They're just different, and they spark a lot of ideas. So one of my first loan entries, the title came from a Twilight Zone episode. It was the title was "I Am the Night, Color Me Black," and it was a picture of a guy smoking a cigar. And that was the first time I saw, like, wow, these are cool titles. So look at TV shows. You know, that's my suggestion with that. Anything, Christine, that you can add to that? Or?
My favorite way of creating a title is to use the thesaurus. And I'm going to, the example that I showed earlier, Alabaster Aster, I have this penchant for very short titles that all begin with the same letter. And I can't remember what the technical term for that is, but like Alabaster Aster both began with the letter A. I also have a penchant for things that rhyme. Alabaster Aster. And the way that I found that was, it was basically a white Fuji mum. And I couldn't figure out how to title it. And I looked up other words in the thesaurus that meant white. And I found alabaster. And I thought, let me look at what a Fuji mum is and see if it happens to be from the Aster family, because I thought that's going to rhyme something fierce. And, you know, as luck would have it, it is part of the Aster family, and I came up with that title. So I like short and sweet things, and I use the thesaurus almost every single title.
Jennifer asks, in the artist category, can you use actions and filters to use tools to create your art? So using actions and filters to create the art, I guess, is what she's trying to say.
Yeah, that's part of your artistic treatment. I think you have to be careful. You know, I saw somebody say something about brushes, and I just really don't know about that. So, you know, look into those rules. But, yeah, totally use Photoshop as much as you can and to its capacity. But, you know, I'm going to warn you, do something different. Actions and filters, you know, everybody uses them, and you start to rely on them, and you add, you know, certain tinges to your, I don't know, learn how to do, what do you call those, adjustment layers. Learn how to use Photoshop. It has so much more capability than just plugging in actions and filters. Learn how to use it a little bit more extensively, build your skill set, because the artist category is based on your skill set. And if it's determined that you're just using actions and filters, you know, judges have seen a lot of images, and they'll be able to tell if you automated this process or if you did it yourself. So, you know, I just go for the higher quality thing and try not to automate so much stuff.
Cool. Someone asked at some point, I know when we both were showing some images, they didn't show up. Someone asked about the albums, if I'll show them somewhere else. If you guys go to linczakphoto.com, all my albums, except for the one from this year, are up there, my personal project album. So linczakphoto.com, under personal projects, you will see all those albums. You can see them in full res and scroll through them, including the Civil War one and all the other ones I've done, except for my one from this year's mod up there. So I know someone asked about that, so definitely check that out. Unfortunately,
there are three people that said, yes. There are three people that put in the chat that that's called alliteration. Yes, thank you. I almost called it onomatopoeia, and I know that's not right. When things all begin with the same letter, that's called alliteration.
Guys, I think we're going to wrap up. Christine, let me ask you, any final thoughts at all to add from this discussion? Anything we missed?
No, hey, you guys are awesome. So many people signed up and showed up, and this is great. I hope that you guys got a lot of information out of it. It's been a joy to sit here and talk to you. So do us a little favor and go listen to the podcast, and let's start some conversation.
Yeah, guys, Make Photography Great Again podcast.com. Latest episode is on there. You can find it on Facebook. Yeah, thanks to everyone to come. We had a pretty good group the whole time. Appreciate you all hanging out with us. I know you could spend your evening any other way, but you decided to hang out here, and we definitely appreciate that. I think that's it. And slides are loaded, unbeknownst to me. Okay.
Oh, I meant to put the thank you slide up, and I put the welcome slide up. Gosh.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Good Lord. Oh my goodness. Yeah, someone says
Okay.
grateful to Megan DePiro for recommending this or sharing it. Thank you, Megan. I don't know if you're on here or if you were on here. Appreciate having some of your folks check this out. And, glad to have you. Christine is trying to. Is it going to take you 10 minutes to get that slide, or we could just say bye?
You know, forget it. I had a
Don't really
slide
need a
that said,
slide.
thank you for coming to our webinar. So thank you for coming to our webinar.
Hey, Christine, will we have this somewhere for them to rewatch? Is that something we've decided, or are we still going to decide to do that, possibly?
You know, what do you feel about that?
You know what? Let's do this, guys. Let's post it within the next day or so on the Make Photography Great Again podcast Facebook page. We will link it on there, okay? So you'll be able to rewatch this, obviously, if you want to share it. In whatever format it's going to be. It'll probably just be like a YouTube video or something. We'll figure it out. But we'll post it on that page within the next day. So check back to that page, like it. We're going to post all the podcasts on there, but we'll post this on there. Does that sound good, Christine?
Yeah, that sounds awesome. Yeah, we're recording it, so let's do something
Cool.
with it.
Cool. I guess that's it, guys. Thanks again. Appreciate it.
Peace out.